Hi, I'm the man on the mic.
And I'm the guy on the bike.
And this is a Velo29 podcast. Hello, Rich.
Hi, Joe. Good afternoon.
How are you, mate? We are switching on the microphones, putting on the Zoom, and freewheeling into a Let's Just Chat episode. How's that?
Sounds all right, doesn't it? We sort of always said, and we've even mentioned it in the pods, that we should just have us talking, because it kind of is that, isn't it? But we always have a meaty topic.
Meaty topic or an idea of what we're going to say, but not today.
But yeah, literally, we've connected and pressed record, haven't we? So
we have, and I think there's plenty to talk about. I mean, who'd have thought a year ago that we would A, still be doing a podcast, and B, still talking about the same old things, i.e. no events and a lockdown. Amazing, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I expected we'd have a tough winter, but not to the extent that we have done. And I think
there's a tough winter and there's a non-existent winter. And
well, I'm looking out my window and we've got about a centimetre of snow. It's been snowing like crazy the last few days, and it's absolutely freezing.
Well, down in Devon, my lovelies, we don't have no snow. No. We never seem to, really. When the world gets it, we don't. But I don't mind that.
Tropical down there, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's pretty chilly. Here he is with his 3 different jumpers on. But
yeah. And I'm in a T-shirt. Right, it goes to show, doesn't it?
Look
See, we are. But only because and
goes to show what that you're a man and I'm a bit of a worse.
That I've turned the heating on and you haven't, probably.
Yeah, there is.
So I've got the program apparel. So the T-shirts finally came. So if you can see the hat,
nice. I like the hat.
Zoom
That's
in.
Very nice.
We've got the program hat. I've got some T-shirts in this colour and in white, and some polo shirts as well. So people who ordered them will get them out this week. And if you still want one, we have still got some left. So you could look as cool as me.
You could send me a cap down, mate. I like that. It's a nice cap, that.
We'll post you a cap, yeah.
Very good, very good. So, how are you, mate? How's things? What will we talk about?
It's been an up and down time since we last spoke. We lost a grandmother, unfortunately, to the dreaded virus as well. So my wife's gran passed away a week ago. She was of ill health. The lockdown of the year of being in restrictions didn't do her any favors with her exercise and things. She got the virus from some carers who were looking after her. Ended up in hospital. Recovered, she's 89. Was 89. Showed great signs of recovery. They went to move her to the recovery non-COVID ward, and 12 hours later she'd passed away. Unbelievable.
It is frightening, and I think this lockdown, certainly from my own personal perspective, has been very different to the original, where we were all it was the summer, we were kind of getting on with things, and we didn't really know of people that were being that affected personally by it, whereas this time we all know somebody that's died or that's recovering or that's got long COVID or has had other health implications. I mean, I lost my brother-in-law's brother last week to cancer. Now, it wasn't to do with COVID, but he hadn't been treated maybe as much as he would have been had he not been worried about getting COVID. You with me?
Yeah, that's a sad impact of things, isn't it?
It is. It's a very long-term impact. And as you know, I'm married to a cancer nurse, and they're just finding that, this knock-on effect, is just so considerable. Mental health, cancer, other health complications, economic. Yeah. I mean, from your own personal kind of, business perspective, is it ever going to be the same? Or are we going to recover from this, or is it going to be different?
We're heading rapidly towards what is the time of year that we would cash in, make the money, I suppose. So we've all, March, April, May. If you did what we do purely for the money, you would work from the 1st of March until the end of May, and then you would take the other 9 months off, because the events that we do those 9 months outside of March, April, May, it's really because we love it. And it's to see everybody, and of course, you couldn't just do the Cheshire Cat and have the company that we do and the following that it is. So yeah, there's always like that comes into it, and you're trying to get the brand out and grow the brand and practice things at little events that have an impact in the big ones. But there's a reality that if you don't do March, April, May like we did last year, you're not going to make any money. And so we're heading rapidly towards that. I think, in reality, I think we might be able to do events mid-March. I think that would be the earliest we're allowed. It might be beyond that, but I think that there'll be there was an announcement or some leaked information on the tabloids at the weekend that the government are keen to get sporting activities. One of the first things they get back will be sporting activities. The little boy's having a little sing there.
Oh, that's lovely. That's nice. I like the accompaniment.
Yeah. I've changed from my dulcet
welcome
drums.
to podcasts during lockdown, folks.
Yeah. The wife's out clearing out the grandmother's flat, so of course I'm promoted to 24/7 childcare as well, which is great. We have great fun, so that's keeping me sane most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, events wise, certainly from my perspective, as you know, I get freelance opportunities all the time from events, and the message I'm getting is that people are frightened to commit, and they're saying, okay, well, we'll probably relocate to September, or we'll try and do something in August, September, but you can't put everything on at the same time. And from my perspective, I'm getting to that point really honestly where I'm starting to apply for different work, completely different career, because a year of very little, there isn't much more you can do after that.
No, there isn't, is there? You've got bills to pay and a roof over your head and all of that kind of thing. Like you haven't turned the heating on, so clearly it's getting to that stage.
You think I'm joking as well, mate? But there we are. It is just a case. I am hoping that things do change, and if I can get some work from June onwards, then I might be able to hang in there. But
we have.
I don't know.
We speak every year. We always speak with loads of different groups and about the various things that we do, and this year actually has been no different. And in fact, actually, we've had more new people asking us to do stuff, because some people won't know, but outside of Velo29, we support other events in different ways, like through timing and technology and all kinds of things, just through like management and like a consultation with some people as well. And so we get all sorts of things, and that's all happening. But they're all saying things like, we want, the very earliest we would do anything is July, and then of course we see school holidays and and it's not particularly a great time of year, and of course every single person in the country has not been on holiday, and all of a sudden, if we are allowed to do so, then you're not going to have a very good event. So then of course I say, like you just said, September is the next logical thing. And yes, but September's already rammed full of quality events that and they're not going to be thinking, I'll do everyone a favor and move it to October. They're going to be thinking, oh, great for us, we're in September and that's fine. So it's a bit frustrating in terms of what, like, our events. Everybody already knows there's no freedom to ride at Croft, no winter series, and no sprint sportives. York Leeds York are trying to sort an alternative date out for, because I think in reality early March I just can't see it happening. So I think it'll look like York moves to the next available weekend, which is sometime in April. Tour of Lancashire I don't think we'll be able to do, because there's only the Preston College that we can logically start from, and I spoke to them. They were completely non-committal, which is understandable. Didn't really want to entertain the booking or anything like that. So I think I've closed the entries for it, and I think in reality we'll not do the Tour of Lancashire. But then we're in the Daffodils, and I'm going to leave that there and hope that for the Daffodils, and there's that lovely yellow ribbon. I hope we're able to do that, which is the third Saturday in March, and then Cheshire Cat the last weekend in March as well. I'm hanging on to see what happens later this month around those two. So that's sort of where we are.
It is the case of just hanging on, isn't it? And I think that's the word, just kind of holding tight and hoping. But will the industry be the same? You know, are people? You've got your ear to the ground. Are people kind of, you know, events organisers walking away? You know what? Where are we at?
Well, I think you know, we talked about a possible impact, didn't we? And that possible impact has now become a definite reality.
Yes.
And in various ways, so organisers, there's commercial companies like ourselves, and they won't all survive, and they'll go under and no longer be able to operate. And a lot of events, but people will probably pick up the events that they ran, because commercial company runs a successful event, and there's revenue in it. So somebody will probably pick those up. You know, even Velo29 would probably try to do that kind of thing. Then there's the guy who does it for the love of it. And I think a lot of that, they tend to be an older kind of person, because you've had your racing career or your whatever, your active career. You've got a little bit older. You've got some time to fill in because you've retired or whatever from your profession, and that's work that's often picked up by those guys, and they'll be thinking things like, it's been nice to have the summer off, and if that becomes 2 summers, they'll be thinking, wow, I'm a bit old for it now. Do I really want to get back into it? The stress
is
of
it
all
worth
of that.
the effort? Is it worth the effort?
Exactly. Yeah. And of course now it's harder. You have pools of volunteers, and they sort of change quite frequently anyway, and they'll have all dispersed, and not all of them will want to come back. And I think that you'll be some surprise events which you thought, well, that's a big event and I can't wait to get back to it. The person who made it happen doesn't want to make it happen anymore.
Won't do it.
I think there'll be that side.
What have you heard much from a kind of British cycling perspective and where they're at?
Well, I'm an avid supporter of British cycling, and I always try to speak enthusiastically about them. And I feel a little bit like and there's an opportunity for them that they could sit there and just see what happens, and they do a lot of work around safety and all of that kind of thing, and do that work and just get back to action when they can, and there'll be consequences of that they sort of accept, and I wouldn't say use the word excuse, but say things like, you know, because of the crisis there's no elite road calendar this year. But I think also they could be saying, right, you know, look at like last year, all the Grand Tours, as soon as they could, put a huge amount of work into rescheduling the calendar to get as much racing as they could at the right time of the year. And I don't hear any talk of doing things like that.
No, I haven't either, which is why I was asking.
And I might be getting it wrong, but I feel a little bit like the sort of, it's hard.
Heads down.
We've got people who have furloughed, and we don't know when we can get back. Safety is a priority, and agree with that, of course. So let's see what happens. And it's a bit wet almost. But lots of organisations are doing that.
They are. Even some of the bigger ones, you know, are saying, well, we're hoping, but we're not committing, and I think that's the difference.
Although there'll be junior racers who will never race as a junior potentially, or because you know they could have become a junior rank, you only get 2 years as a junior. You could have junior rank
That's a good point.
last year.
Yeah.
And all right, there's going to be races in the summer and beyond, but maybe those big races that really, you know, like Tom Pidcock as a junior did the big races and progressed and came out as a young senior as an experienced racer, and that's a really important period. Harry Tanfield, exactly the same. And it's a really important time in your racing. And the same for, you know, a guy who's 18, 19, 20, that's like Harry, who I know well, that's when he really became a sort of mature rider. And
that's a massively valid point, Rich, that I hadn't really considered, because of course we talked about, you know, throughout the year, people being able to train at home, and, you know, some of them, especially the pros, have got the gear and they've managed to kind of keep going. But if you're a kid or a 17 or 18-year-old and you've got a bike, but that's it, and you've been able to do getting out and about, but not really any focused training or any focused coaching or any kind of development, that's a massive point, which I must admit I hadn't really considered until you said that.
Same in loads of sports.
Every sport, really.
2 years at that age is such a big part of your life. It's like forever, isn't it? I remember, you know,
and it's often the jump from amateur to pro. It's often that, you know, not necessarily an actual pro, but mentality-wise, development-wise, body stature, all that kind of stuff. It's that sweet spot, isn't it, where you really kind of switch into some kind of, right, this is it, this is my life, this is what I'm going to do. That's a huge point.
There's so many people drift out of whatever sport they're doing at that age, where and there's so many distractions for a young person. Like, you know, you get a car, you get a boyfriend or girlfriend, you can go to the pub and all of those things, and you drift out of sport, and that must be really prevalent in recent months. Because
hey, I'll tell you what, Rich, we ought to see if we can find a couple of young people in, I don't know what contacts you've got, but it'd be really good, wouldn't it, to get a couple of young people on that are kind of budding pros or certainly strong sports people or cyclists, and talk to them. That would be really good, wouldn't it?
It's a good idea. We'll maybe try and line that up for a couple of weeks' time. There's loads of local guys who were doing well, and I haven't seen now for.
Because it'd be really good to get their insight, you know, because certainly as a pro presenter or whatever you want to call me, I've lost heart. I really have. I've got to that point in the last year where I've gone, do you know what? I think I'm going to do something else. And how would you feel as a young person who, you know, you've put your kind of heart and soul into it, and you've had a year and a half, whatever, of nothing? Are you going to go, do you know what? I think I'll do uni, or do you know what? I think I'll get a job. It's interesting, isn't it?
Well, I think that British cycling stance or lack of stance. If I was that age and I was thinking there's going to be racing in July and August for me, that would be okay. I think I could focus on that.
Yes.
And I could
give you
I could live my life towards it. But thinking, I don't know if there's going to be any races, I probably just wouldn't have ever got the bike out. And I think that's. If I was 18-year-old, to a lot of extent, lockdown would have suited me, because I wouldn't have had to. You know, I could have trained on the bike more because I wouldn't have gone to college so much. Other distractions would have been put to a side. And other than now, when we're not supposed to go riding off for miles and miles and miles, I would have been all right. But the lack of clarity around when I could race would have really been and through doing the program, you know, all the people we keep in touch with, they're all a bit distracted, losing heart, like the mojo's coming and going, because now it's just that you've got so much enthusiasm now because you're about to start the season, and we always, you know, cyclists are so emotive characters, and I'm going to be better next year, I'm going to go further, I'm going to go more often, and all of those things. And the reality, of course, is you go up and down a tiny bit, but this time of year is when we really see that, and everybody is getting super fit, and it's got to be a bit disheartening, certainly.
But it is, you know, going back to what we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, that knock-on effect. You know, we talked about the virus loads, but there is so many other knock-on effects, and drive and ambition is one of those things. And certainly for me personally, it's, you know, I was, as you know, very driven at the beginning of lockdown, and I achieved a few little kind of things that I didn't think I'd ever do, and I got the book out and all that. But that's gone. And you kind of go, do you know what? How are these sports people feeling? If they're at the point where they've got to make that choice between pro or give up, which often is that choice, isn't it? You know, is this circumstance causing those decisions and kind of removing that drive, that ambition? Because, like you say, the lack of clarity, it's not so much not being able to do stuff, it's the not knowing. It's the not knowing.
Not knowing, yeah. And even every sport, football, young people getting scouted, and you know, the grassroots games are not taking place like they were, and our scouts going to matches and seeing young people, and
like there aren't any matches for them to see.
And you know, snooker, darts, all of the. Can you play indoors?
Literally.
When could you last play those things?
And this is again another knock-on effect. You know, generationally, how does it affect development? You know, not just in sport but in general for these young people when they've basically had a year of nothing.
It's got to be a gap.
Well,
people are starting to ask. I notice the lockdown trends and things, and people are starting to ask. I can tell they're thinking, will we survive? Will we come back? And all of that kind of thing. Like the things that we've just explained, you know, do they apply to us? And,
yes.
And I guess it's worth saying that the day we can do an event, we will do an event. And if there's 25 weekends in the year, we'll do 25 events, because we're just, you know, we're chomping at the bit to get back. We've got that enthusiasm. It hasn't gone away. Everything is just locked in a unit. The same faces, give or take, we'll all be there, and the event will be just like it was. You know, in September, we went from no events for, well, best part of a year, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden, we were there, and nothing had changed, I don't think, other than the bits and pieces we'd had to put in place, which everybody liked. The fun, the excitement, the route, and everything was the same. So I think, you know, if it's mid-March, if it's April, hopefully it won't be, but if it's beyond that, we'll be there, and we'll do our best to keep smiling between now and then.
I think it's really important to finish on that kind of positive note, you know, that we have talked a little bit down about the circumstances, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, with regards to the virus, you know, vaccines and all that kind of stuff, hopefully 2 or 3 months, and we will start to be able to move forward again.
There's certainly an end of a tunnel. The light's not. It's maybe starting to flicker again, but we just don't know where the end of the tunnel is. I think that sort of end of this month, is it 22nd or something like that, when the government are due to talk about easing the restrictions of the current lockdown, or not easing them, whatever, and schools going back and that kind of thing. So I think we'll get some insight then. So we're not going to change things unless we really have to beyond that. So York and Lancashire accepted. And then we'll just see what's said then. I did have a sort of an informal chat with British Cycling, and they said they're sort of poised to react to that information as quickly as possible. Because I had a bit of a concern that sort of back in July, it took them ages to work with clinical data management to come to a conclusion about what the rule of 6 and the minute starts and that kind of thing. It took ages, and because of that delay, we probably lost out on 2 or 3 weekends of doing events. So I was a bit worried that would be the case again, because starting mid-March is dramatically different to starting early April for us. But they did sort of imply that they're poised to react quickly, because they appreciate that every day is important, but rushing isn't right. Just being clear and having a day and a plan is what they'll get out as quickly as they can.
Well,
fingers crossed.
On that note,
try to keep riding, guys. It's rubbish weather outside, and that's definitely an impact. But that's an impact today, like it was last year and the year before and the year after. And that, I know it's one more thing on a reason that it's hard to get your bike out, but so many of us got indoor trainers. That's such a brilliant community, and it's make a massive difference. And I've actually ridden more this winter than I have previous reasons for that.
That's good.
But you know, there will be events. The weather will soon be better. The daylight is improving dramatically. Things are, you know, there's a review about easing, and we're poised to react to that as quickly as we can. There will be events soon. We will be required to ride 110 miles in sun, snow, rain, feed stations, all of those things that we love. That we will be doing them this year. So keep riding. Don't give up. And you know, there's such great things keep happening. You've just got to pitch up and take part to benefit from them. So stick at it, guys. Stick at it.
Love the positivity, Rich. Well done, mate.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Well, thanks, everybody. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye for now. Bye.